It's time to go into the SPP Film Room for Chalk Talk with Coach Andy, Scheel and Drew. Brought to you by Quick Cut Video and Analytics. Store, share, and analyze game film. Quick Cut is an affordable video analysis platform to elevate game performance. Get started with a free trial today by visiting quickcut.com. Now here are Coach Andy, Scheel and Drew. Welcome everybody to the SPP Film Room, Sports Peninsula Podcast, Chalk Talk with Coach Andy, Scheel of the Marine City Mariners. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well, Drew. Doing well. You have another exciting Lions victory to talk about. Another great job using Quick Cut. Just the work that you do, it really makes it real easy to kind of just, vibe into the diagramming that you've been and charting that you've been able to do with the clips. And tell you what, Quick Cut is a real competitor to the four-letter competitor that they have. And I think most people will know who I'm talking about with that.
Certainly in the coaching fraternity, no doubt, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's easy to work with. I think if you're familiar with PowerPoint at all, you can navigate quickly. Now, there's still nuances we're learning as we go, and I'm trying to learn. But to be able to just pick up and go, yeah, you can do it. You can do it pretty good. So it's very, very user friendly. But Coach, we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneer Detroit Lions game last Sunday. Lions are 5-1 now. Just in the past, I thank the good Lord we weren't doing this in the past, because it would be such a negative experience to be talking about. There's that block missed that assignment, and it's really a lot of good things that we're highlighting, and we're not doing it on purpose. It's just that's what they're doing, and let's just sit back and keep enjoying it, Lions fans. But Coach, a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Well, and I think especially the theme of a lot of the clips that we have to work on today really shows the team mentality and the effort that we're going to show you a little bit too. And obviously there's, it's coached up, it's tucked up a little bit into some scheme, but these are guys really hustling, and it's a lot of moving parts, and it's 11 guys doing what they need to do. Yes, these are all football cliches, but we're actually seeing it with the boys in Honolulu blue and silver.
Well, we're going to get to it, Coach. And, at the end of the day here, and I'm going to get our mugs on the screen, even though I know folks want to see the Lions and not us, but it always helps, right? We'll talk about this first play here, Coach, and it's early in the game. And this is just a screen pass for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But it kind of sets the tone of how the Lions offense really clicks. Talk about this play.
The screen game was big on Sunday. It was big on Sunday, and this play right here is no different. But I tell you what, right now, what gives me, as far as a defensive coach, when I see Brock Wright lined up out here wide here, just outside of the number 10 here and the 10-yard line, tight end out there wide, that tells me they're going out there and they are going to use him as a blocker. A screen is a-coming, and that sure is what the case is right here. You're going to see these two other receivers get out in front, and Penei Sewell come in from the inside of the formation, and now you have got a real tucked up thing going. And look at the cavalry out in front. You've got Sam Laporta, Graham Glasgow, Penei Sewell, Josh Reynolds, Brock Wright, all in the fray here. Picks up 11 yards. Detroit Lions first down.
You're right, Coach. Let's look at it again. I mean, it doesn't seem like, and it was early in the game, but they definitely weren't hip to that at all. I mean, they were not. I mean, nobody cheated in.
Well, when you have a real hard pass rush, heavy pass rush that gets upfield quick, a way to slow it down is the screen game. That is to throw screens. Let those rushers come upfield and throw the ball right underneath them, and you'll have yards galore. And when you've got a cavalry like that, 58, 89, 74, 80, or number 8, number 77, we saw number 60 in the frame. All of those guys contributed to that gain. And again, it's that team concept. Screen passes require a lot of moving parts to work in synchrony to make it happen. And that's what you saw with this play. And we're going to see it again in several other clips.
Yeah, let's get to the next play right here, Coach. And this is actually a defensive play. Great result here. This is the Will Harris interception off the Isaiah Buggs tip, but some things to be a little concerned about in this play, and you'll talk about those.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a scheme. It could be just a call by Coach Glenn that didn't, may have been maybe a calculated risk. But what you're going to see is you're going to see Will Harris get caught underneath and really kind of overcompensate on and bite on what he probably thought was going to be a run play. I don't know if that's what he saw in his read, but he actually bit up. And now you've got Mike Evans just coming up the field. And you're going to see as the play progresses, a safety lets him run by as well. He's wide open down the field. This is going to be a 95-yard touchdown. But Ike Buggs has got those paws up in the air. And he gets a big old piece of this pass. And now that out of position, Will Harris is now in the perfect position to get a tipped ball interception at around the 12-yard line, where the Lions would then convert and turn into 3 points and take the lead for good in this game. So really, credit goes to Isaiah Buggs. They worked on it. It was talked about. They worked on getting their arms up and deflecting passes and contesting passing windows with getting their arms up when the quarterback's hand was going forward. This one worked to perfection. Turnover for the Lions, and it's 3-0 here in a couple of minutes.
Coach, before we go to the next clip, is that typically what's coached up on defensive linemen? They always have their hands up when they are guessing it's pass, or does it depend on the scheme or the athlete?
Well, when you recognize it's pass, you're obviously trying to rush the passer. We want to actually gain, and a lot of times when you're inside like that, you're bull rushing, so you're going to actually extend and drive your blocker back towards the quarterback. Maybe try to do a push-pull and rip yourself through or slingshot yourself through with an arm over. Yes, getting your arms up once that quarterback commits to throw, getting those arms up, not leaving your feet, however. We know guys like the guy that we're playing this coming up week, Lamar Jackson, he'd love it if you left your feet, as a defender, because he's just going to run right by it. You don't want to leave your feet, but you want to get those arms up. Absolutely.
No, that's great, Coach. That's a great point. And but you're right. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, and you get you off the ground, you're done. He's gone.
You can see, he might be maybe just marginally off the ground, like maybe a couple of inches. He didn't spring to leap over the top and get way up over this blocker, because he just would have been thrown backwards. And honestly, having done that, he may have created more of a seam. And Baker, could have probably even maybe tucked and ran, because you have Kaminsky that's kind of getting shaded there too by a blocker.
Yeah, that's a great point. But his eyes had to have lit up when he saw number 13 deep, wide open.
Yeah, that's where he thought it was going, and couldn't quite get it there.
But like we talked about before recording, in the past, these kind of plays were what we would lament that, yep, that play right there cost the Lions the game. Not this year. We're talking about how, this great single individual effort saved the day, and we're getting a lot of that, and we're going to see more of that later on. So let's take a look at the next clip, Coach. And this is the play where Hutch, it was borderline, but he was definitely in bounds when Hutchinson hit Mayfield. But let's talk about the pass rush on this play with the stunt by Charles Harris.
Again, a scheme in which we would want, when we twist like this, you're going to see Charles Harris twist underneath.
I'm sorry about
John Kaminsky. That's okay. You're going to twist underneath John Kaminsky here into the A gap, and Kaminsky is not going to be able to really deepen this too much. He's going to come underneath a lot of these delayed twists and stunts. Now, if we take it back just a touch here, you're going to see John Kaminsky kind of engage with number 71 here. We really want to see him steering over the top of this and deepening and getting outside of Baker to make him step up into the pocket. However, he's not able to do that here. Yeah. He's going to get pinned underneath himself a little bit, and Baker's going to actually contain, and it looks like he's going to be able to run for a while. But Kaminsky does kind of recover and create an angle there. He's going to beat Kaminsky's angle, but he's not going to beat the inverse of that number in 97, Aiden Hutchinson, who's absolutely going to train wreck Baker Mayfield into his own sideline. However, done completely legally. He holds up. He holds up, and it winds up being a 1 yard gain. A 1 yard gain. And really what we benefited from there is how deep Baker was in the backfield when he actually took off. Because one thing that's for certain, is that he is a whole 10 or 11 yards behind the line of scrimmage when he actually makes his move to run. He's only able to gain about 1.5 yards when it's all said and done. Fourth down, Tampa Bay, Lions are getting the ball back.
You make a great point, Coach. I'm going to go back to right here just with Kaminsky. And like you said, you'd like right at this point, you'd kind of like to see him going out.
Steer out wider into the past the hash, the faded hash mark here. Yes, get out there. That's where we want him to be. So he has to step up and throw. And now you would have Charles Harris in there to probably take him out. However, he gets kind of hung up on that block and is able to break contain. That's not on Charles Harris. He studded inside. It's part of the scheme, but we see this kind of athleticism and then recover. Hey, when it's 1 yard gain on 3rd down and 11 or 3rd down and 12, we can live with those results.
Yeah, great. Again, a great effort, even though there was a bit of a breakdown there. The athleticism by Hutchinson and Kaminsky, for that matter, because he was able to catch up, still making the play, still force the punt. You got to like that.
Well, Coach Scarcelli and I, we got to talking, and he talked with Mike Elston, the University of Michigan defensive line coach, about contain. He talked to him about it this week out at practice. And Coach Elston brings up a good point, too, saying, okay, so you maintain great outside leverage pass rush. If the quarterback just steps up into the pocket and throws it, what are you affecting? You're not really affecting anything. He had all the time in the world to throw. So that is also a good point. It's not about always being, sound in the traditional sense, because that soundness can also create no pass rush at all.
It's a great point. That's awesome conversation too, Coach. Gotta love that. Here's this is a first down pass to St. Brown, and really this is about, number one, a crisp route run, and also a perfectly timed and thrown ball by Jared Goff, who had a great game. Let's talk about this one.
Well, I know when you have receivers all bunched together in this formation, just talking with defensive back coaches, that's real tough when they're all breaking out of the route stem at the same time. They're not picking you. It's not like they're laying a body into you so that you can't get across it and the other receiver makes his move. It's just you have to find your ability to break through on the cover pieces. Well, when they're all bunched together like that, they're all going to scatter in different areas, and you're either not going to get it right or you're not going to have enough guys in the area to make the defense. That's not so much the case here. Jared Goff throws to a defended receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. However, it's timing. The timing is perfect. It's a great pocket, as you can see. He throws that missile to about the 42-yard line. If this is a half second late, Drew, this is an interception.
Yeah, it's
early. If it's early, it probably is not going to be caught. It'll be an incompletion. It was great timing and a great throw, and there was just enough separation and space for that throw to be made, and yet another Detroit Lion first down. Great pocket, great concept, great execution, great throw and catch.
They missed 14, even though I know they beat Carolina a couple of weeks ago. It's still always good to have him in the lineup. It's he had a big game, and we'll see more of him. But coming up on this play, Coach, we got that play action pass to David Montgomery on first down here. Montgomery did leave the game rather early with a rib injury, but this was a nice play. Let's talk about this one.
Yep. Yes, another screen pass. They're going to motion Sam Laporta across the formation here. That's going to draw and hopefully and probably get and you can see the linebackers adjusted to it and slid over. Mm-hmm. All they're going to do is they're going to get Montgomery underneath, and you see the cavalry setting up here. You got Glasgow, Ragnow, and Decker all ready to go. But look at Iwasika here. What a smart, heady play by a reserve guard. Right now, that's a block in the back, and that's a 10-yard penalty. He waits for him to turn around and then just engages him enough. He's not looking to deliver a knockout punch. He just wants to get in his way so that Dave Montgomery can get those shoulders parallel. Now you can see the cavalry working. Penny Sewell's got a paw on somebody. Frank Ragnall's driving somebody downfield. Brock Wright's entering the fray. We see Graham Glasgow way downfield. You see Sam Laporta is going to re-enter the fray here and get a block in there. Huge gain on another screen pass, and now the Lions are really working the Bucs defense because this vaunted pass rush and ability to rush the passer is going to become ineffective when we're running screen passes this well like the Lions were. The screen pass was a huge, huge piece of the offense last week, during and before, obviously, when Montgomery was healthy and afterwards as well.
I'm going to tell you what, I mean, as much as I disliked them, I always admired their offense was Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers and even with Favre, and they ran the screen to perfection, and it worked did wonders, and I see a lot of that in this scheme that Ben Johnson's running. It's not quite the same 100%, but a lot of those screen passes, the way Goff is able to carry out the fake, the play action, the way the linemen are able to get upfield, the athleticism, everyone's doing their job. And I think that's also a kind of a lineage here in every clip we're seeing. Like you mentioned, there's so many different guys involved and everyone's engaged. No one's taking plays off. And that's
true team football. It's not just up to, Calvin Johnson going downfield, making great catches, or, Barry Sanders, and that was in the run game. He had a great offensive line. Or it's not about just, the O-line. It's everybody working in tandem.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful to see. Next play here. Here's the play we want to see. Amon-Ra St. Brown with the touchdown, and then a pretty key block downfield by number 13, Craig Reynolds. Let's talk about this one.
Yep, the undrafted free agent out of Division II Kutztown College in Kutztown State University in Pennsylvania. 1.5 yards on the ground, but look at this effort. This could be the play of the game. And this is one that I know all players understand. You see the ball thrown underneath on 3rd down and long. And this is a play by design to get Amon-Ra St. Brown going east and west and trying to use players for picks. You see Josh Reynolds, who's very, very savvily just gets in the way here of his defender, just enough. Craig Reynolds is coming outside like a heat-seeking missile, and he's eyeing up somebody that he can get out in front of Amon-Ra St. Brown and do the exact same thing. However, he's not just going to get in his way, Drew. He's going to decleat this individual and put him into Antoine Winfield's heels. This is basically a 2-on-1 pancake block. Antoine Winfield's the athletic enough to stay on his feet. However, he's not able to gain the sideline or gain the edge and track the hip of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And the Lions are on the board with 6. All because of number 13, Craig Reynolds' phenomenal effort here. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's wise enough to play those Reynolds boys blocks.
I love the Craig Reynolds block, just blowing up his man and taking Winfield out just enough at the same time to spring for the actual 6 points. But you touched on Josh Reynolds. I love what he does here because, first of all, he does just enough to just throw his man off here, but he jumps off him right away, Coach. He really doesn't block him. He goes to Levante David right here.
It's all by design. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown using his own players on the chessboard, really. It's Josh Reynolds knowing that he just really serves a purpose by getting in the way. And Craig Reynolds, he just comes in like a missile because he saw that block to be able to get his head or side even, so it wasn't a block in the back or something that could be called a clip or anything like that. And here we go. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. And that is a Detroit Lions style touchdown. Whether it's, pounding it in on the ground or banging it in there on a receiving play, on a pass play with a huge downfield block.
They're manufacturing their points. Much like in baseball, you would manufacture runs, bunting, singles, a lot of hit and run. The Lions, a lot of dink and dunk, screens, things of that nature. Ground and pound on getting 3 and 4 yards in a cloud of dust at times, but they're very successful doing it. But they didn't abandon the big play, Coach, right? Because in this next clip, we're going to see, needless to say, this was a big one to JMO. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That's the next one, but this is
another screen pass. And this is our 3rd screen pass of that you drew up and clipped up real nice, Drew. And this is once again, you see Penei Sewell is going to be one of the lead guys from the interior, getting himself out in front of this play. Now you also see Sam Laporta, and I want to say that's also Josh Reynolds again down here, getting out in front of Craig Reynolds, who in this case came out here in really what's called a bubble or grizzly screen. But look at this, engaged perfectly are Josh Reynolds, Laporta, and then you had Penei Sewell come in. Downfield now is Taylor Decker. You've got Graham Glasgow out in front of the formation, and here we go. 1st down and more. Now, Craig Reynolds decides to cut this back inside. Had he cut it outside of Graham Glasgow here, Graham Glasgow may have gotten enough of a piece of this defensive back, and Craig Reynolds could have sprung this maybe for 6. And the old CBS fantasy would be having Craig Reynolds' name as an ad option because of the points he would have generated off of that play. But I tell you what, it was a significant gain. It crossed us over into Tampa Bay territory. 1st down and 10, and the Lions are cooking with fire once again.
Yeah, I love how you caught that too, Coach, because definitely, right here, the decision would have to be
just maybe took that, really planted that left foot and then angled to the right here. Glasgow just gets a paw on number 29, and we could be talking about him really, taking this to the house. But nonetheless, that's no harsh criticism. It's a great gain, and it definitely led to good things for the Lions.
And now I already blew the surprise, and like it was a surprise, but they did have a big play, Coach, and we're gonna see it here. This is the touchdown to Jameson Williams, and not much to draw up, but it's just something to admire.
Something to admire. J-Mo had really not made a very good play on a ball a couple of plays earlier. That was certainly frustrating. But what all this is, and like you said, there's not much to draw up, Drew, but a guy that gets over the top of the defense. And that not everybody can do that. This is a 54-yard strike downfield to J-Mo. J-Mo's got to track this ball and locate it. Not that easy. There's the layman's going to just not even make this catch because he can't find it. Yep. J-Mo turns around and makes a very difficult catch because he's engaged at the point the ball, that the ball comes to him. It really, in turn, becomes a 50-50 ball. J-Mo is a physical enough player. He stays right on it, makes a beautiful catch, and this game is just basically about over after this touchdown. This was a backbreaker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I wanted to ask you about this throw. Is it thrown this way by design, or was it slightly underthrown and Williams just made a really good adjustment?
Well, when you throw the ball 50 some odd yards downfield, I mean, there's going to be little, there's only a couple guys we've ever seen really throw the ball perfectly down there. Aaron Rodgers being one of them. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a little, leeway here or there. I would say that's a pretty good ball by Jared Goff. We're not talking about Matt Stafford's arm strength here. We're not talking about a guy that can throw the ball 70 yards. All right. We saw him throw it 54 yards there, or roughly thereabouts, maybe 52, 53 yards.
Yeah, pretty good.
He's got probably a little more that he can throw on and put on it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of mustard put on that ball by Jared Goff, and it's pretty accurate.
I think what really makes this play too, Coach, is Williams pretty much had a couple steps on his defender, and the defender was never able to look back for the ball himself.
No, he can only operate off of J-Mo's, eyes and hands going up to be able to fight. He doesn't look to fight hands. He tries to engage him physically. By then it's too late, and Jameson Williams has brought the ball into his body and has it secured. So it's a touchdown. He just gets over the top of the defense. He's able to beat everybody down the field. Like you said, it's not, like we showed all these screen passes where great effort downfield, great play concept with receivers, tight ends, and linemen engaging at the point of contact, and then guys getting their shoulders upfield and effort downfield in the blocking game. This was just a guy, that's a good old school home run in football. Just getting over the top of things and throwing a football where that receiver is and the defensive backs aren't.
I mean, certainly we all, as fans, wanted to see something like this because this is what Jameson Williams is known for: big play speed, making big plays. But again, this team's MO isn't all about big plays, but it's nice to have that in your hip pocket when you need it. And they've got guys that are capable of it. I'm sure we'll be seeing some of that from Jahmyr Gibbs down the road, maybe even this Sunday against Baltimore. It sounds like it's pretty promising that he's going to be back. Possibly Brian Branch, possibly Josh Pascal. He's practicing. That would be huge.
Great news.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just huge. Montgomery's going to be out for at least a couple weeks. Who knows? Not sure if it's a short-term IR issue. Whether it's a 4-week issue or not, we're not sure. Are they going to go? And Craig Reynolds is on the injury report now, although they're not saying a whole lot about that yet. But we'll find out more on Friday and Saturday, I'm sure. But, they did bring Mo Abraham back on the practice squad, University of Minnesota product. We were really happy they were able to pick up because we thought he was going to get drafted in day 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we have him here, and Dividing Zigbo's here still, and we shall see if Craig Reynolds is not able to go. I'm thinking Mo Abraham probably gets the call up, and then they'll have to think about yet another back going into the practice squad. There's some things that are going to happen here. The Lions are definitely asserting themselves as contenders for not just the NFC North, but the NFC. They are right in the fold there. I think it's pretty safe to say right now things can change. We know things can change. We're very familiar with how things can change. But right now it seems like it's the Eagles, the Niners, and the Lions world in the NFC right now. And there's some other fine football teams, Dallas being one of them. Of course, we have Green Bay. That's not going to go away. What's that?
Tampa's one of those.
Tampa's a good football team. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be they're going to be in command to be a playoff contender as well. But there's going to be some big names moved. I think we're going to start seeing that in football a little bit more, similar and not dissimilar to what we've seen in hockey and in basketball, where you acquire picks to try to to try to enhance your roster. We may be in position where we could do that with somebody that could be becoming a pending free agent or in a position group where they may be in a little bit longer of tooth, and somebody that may have a contract that people don't want to pay anymore. So we shall see. Not saying that the Lions are going to do that or they should do that. We've done really, really well with our homegrown talent and the guys that we've cultivated ourselves. So, we just want to get as healthy as we possibly can by Christmas time, so that when it's all said and done and the best of the best are playing each other, that we've got the best Detroit Lions out there.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on that point, Coach, I'm all for the Lions getting some rental talent in here to try and make a push. I'm all for it here, but again, it's got to be, and I say rental because you got to look at guys like St. Brown. I mean, Jonah Jackson, they've got a decision to make there. He's a pending free agent to be, so they've got a decision to make. Now, obviously, they've been able to play pretty well with a plethora of injuries on that offensive line. I mean, I don't think other than week 1 against Kansas City that they've had both starting guards playing together. Big V hasn't played since then, and Jackson's missed the last game or two, and I'm not sure he's going to play this coming week on Sunday against Baltimore. So Decker's missed a little time. Really only Ragnow and Sewell have played the whole year at this point.
Right. And we know, Big Frank's been dinged a little bit.
Oh, yeah. That toe ain't getting any better. I mean,
I believe Penei Sewell may have been in concussion protocol after the last preseason game, too.
Yes.
Or during the last preseason game as well. So, I mean, those guys have incurred some injuries, too. So, we do. That's a very good point. You bring up Jonah Jackson. As fine of a football player as he is, he's a Pro Bowl guard, and he's going to garner a pretty nice contract. Now, his health, will also dictate some of those numbers. And we have to look at our advanced scouting and see how we performed when Jonah Jackson's not been in the lineup, because that may also tell us, do we want to be able to pay that increasing rate on Jonah Jackson or not? And, go back into the pool and, draft some more talent. We've got Cooper Beebe and some other good interior offensive linemen that will probably be on the board late in the first round, where I think the Lions are probably going to be drafting this year. Yeah. So we could very well do a replacement that way as well. So, I mean, there's some different things that we could think about. We could also re-sign Jonah Jackson to a 5-year deal, and he could retire a Detroit Lion. So actually, that's what I would hope for. But, unfortunately, there's this thing called the salary cap, and it's going to have Mr. Brad Holmes making some real tough decisions like he has to every year.
I'm going to tell you what, I don't envy him after this offseason, going into this offseason. He's got it's not just Jackson. It's not just, St. Brown's pending contract, but then you got Jared Goff. There's a lot of decisions to make. And let's face it, you got to look, you can't just look at, it's not just about next year. 97 is going to get paid. And I know he's just in his second year, but you still got to bear that in mind.
3 years from now goes by quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right.
So let's enjoy this while we can, right? And I'm sure Brad Holmes and Chris Spielman and company will make it happen upstairs. And their capologist. The NFL salary cap's not quite as stringent as the NHL's, like we're used to. They can get creative. It's certainly not the NBA's, which is a loose cap at best, and it's certainly not baseball. It doesn't have one, so they have the luxury tax. That's it. So it's going to be interesting, but they, as long as they can keep hitting home, I wouldn't even say hitting home runs, but constantly replenishing the pipeline with the homegrown talent, like you said, in the draft, which we know Brad Holmes can do that. So there's a lot more confidence you should have as a fan base to say, hey, he's got, come draft day, Brad Holmes has got it. Let's trust what he's going to do. They're going to pay who they pay for the right reasons because they know or they feel like they're going to have an easier time replenishing that particular position, or they may have to put more money towards maybe a St. Brown or maybe somebody else to say, okay, we're going to draft that guard. I don't know. A lot of like the early mock drafts coming out now, I have had them doing just that, looking at the old line around pick 25, 26. But before we wrap this up, Coach, I love the fact that people are talking about the Lions so much, and there's so many media types out, national media types that are saying they're the best team in the NFC right now. You can argue that. I agree with you. The Niners, the Eagles, and the Lions have certainly distinguished themselves, and the record shows that they're 5-1. But they truly are the three teams that have played very, very well this year. Even though the Niners and Eagles are coming off losses on the road, but the teams they probably shouldn't have lost to, which gives me hope. Any given Sunday, right? The Lions, yeah, and the Lions lost their game at home, but to a very good Seattle team, and that went to overtime. Seattle's a good team. We didn't mention them earlier. They're definitely in the mix too. So they're scary. Tampa's defense is scary. Dallas's defense is very scary. Dallas, to me, is the one team that could leap up into the fray if they get it right on offense, because they have too much. To me, they have too much talent on offense to not be generating points. So that team's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, the indictment on them is they got beat 42-10.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's to take that kind of a butt whipping. That definitely tells you that not maybe just on one day, but there's at least one team that's quite a bit better than you are, and that team is also in your division. Yes. So, yes, I think Dallas is definitely a playoff contender, but I definitely certainly have the Lions ahead of them.
Yeah, to me right now, the best thing I think that the Lions fans have right now going is that you shouldn't fear anybody. Now, that's not to say be overconfident and cocky and think you're going to walk everybody, because guess what? It won't happen. And you ought to know damn well better than to think that way. And I don't think many people are. But this team is capable of beating anybody. But as we saw last week, the big boys can lose too. So let's just keep enjoying this. Let's see what happens in Baltimore. And then we'll talk about that one next week.
Absolutely.
So, Coach Andy Scheel of the Marine City Mariners, thank you, Coach, for your fine chalk talk here in the SPP Film Room. I'm Drew. Everybody take care. We will talk to you next week. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.